episode, the team has a full slate with shoots for both FQ and Sir. Former model, author, and goddaughter of Prince Charles, India Hicks, gives us a personal tour of her island paradise. Plus, we venture into new territory with a lifestyle shoot, while Bob tries his hand as photographer for a fashion shoot. There's a shoot with the bare-naked ladies. Plus, we get a chance to have Sir Richard Branson on the cover of Sir. That is, if his schedule permits. In this episode, it's all about the lords and the ladies.
Look at me. Watch me. My eyes on the runway. Watch me. Cover stories.
Photojournalist Struan is on assignment in the Bahamas to shoot a portrait and interview with former model and spokesperson for Crabtree Evelyn, India Hicks. I don't think you can get much more glamorous than India Hicks. When you talk about an aspirational kind of character, you know, that's India. She's got all these royal connections. She was like Princess Diana's flower girl or something. Prince Charles is her godfather, I believe. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But besides all that, I mean, she's just a beautiful woman, and she's got this exotic lifestyle, and she has such a keen aesthetic. The daughter of David Hicks, famous interior designer from the 60s. She is a great international figure. I showed her a copy of FQ magazine, and she adored it. And I said, oh, you know, maybe we could do something with you. And she said, oh, yes, absolutely. Why don't you come down and visit me in the Bahamas, and you can stay at the guest house. And I just thought, this is fantastic. Obviously, it would make for a great story. Unfortunately, you know, days before I was supposed to leave, my mother became ill and had to have emergency heart surgery. And, you know, she's 86 years old. And it was very, very, very scary, to say the least. And going to the Bahamas was like the last thing I would care to do. And her doctor really advised me not to go that far, especially to, you know, this remote island somewhere. So I had to just bite the bullet and send our wonderful photographer, Struan, and ask India if she would just tell her own story. So instead of having me report on it for the magazine, we would just let India talk to the camera, and we could transcribe that, and India could tell her own story. And what we were interested in was not just seeing India's wonderful place, but sort of the entire, you know, Hicks empire, which of course includes her father's, her late father's place on Windermere Island.
Wow. Is this unique?
We wanted to focus on India's lifestyle, juxtaposed to that of her famous British interior designer father, David Hicks.
This is the entranceway and the dining room. Even as you can see these paintings here, that when they were first done and they were commissioned for the house, they were incredibly brightly coloured.
Having an interior decorator as your father, it's a very different world, but one that was an extraordinary world. I mean, we lived in some of the most beautiful houses that existed.
The big main room here, it was done in the 60s, so then it was incredibly modern. It was a particularly unusual house to have here in this part of the world. And it lasts, even today. It has this very fresh, modern feeling to it.
He, you know, really did change the way people thought about decorating. I mean, into the quiet English drawing rooms, he brought a world of colour and really the geometric pattern, which hadn't existed before, especially in England.
We find Michael, Bob, and photographer Gabor Jarina on location shooting for the latest issue of FQ. What makes this shoot different is we're taking the creative a step further and adding a lifestyle element to the story. If successful, it'll help in the new venture that Michael hopes to launch.
This shoot is a little bit of a prototype for a magazine that we're looking to launch, and that requires us to really understand and be competent at food, lifestyle and leisure. This is the start of something new for us.
The brief today is an 8-page story with fashion being the main sort of goal, and also we're throwing food in as well. And that's sort of what's going to make the shoot interesting but difficult, is sort of marrying the two different sort of mediums together in one shoot. I want to give it a little bit of a cooler edge because, you know, it could veer into being catalog, so, you know, it's very important that, you know, we give it a little bit of an edge. That's great.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful? It's a group of friends who've got together for a dinner party, and so we go on that journey, but this time we stop by the kitchen. We actually see food that they're eating.
They're featuring food for the first time, so I'm here as a food stylist just to make sure there's a food component and that it's looking good and fresh.
For this, I mean, I felt that we needed somebody that could style the food as opposed to just having bowls of stuff around, so we picked a stylist that, yes, is proven with us. We've worked with him before.
The team's task is further complicated because shoots involving food typically take a long time. Waiting on food is a common industry saying. By mid-afternoon, only 2 of 8 shots are done.
We plan for like 8 pages, but we try to overshoot, so I'm always trying to move everybody along and get things happening fast, and hopefully it'll work out. We'll see.
Fortunately for the team, the midsummer's late sunset allows the shoot to stretch to the evening.
Yeah, we got it. We'd been talking a long time about who the right cover person should be for Sir.
We thought, who can we put on there that's really going to speak of leisure, you know, but be not that overexposed, and there were a lot of factors at play there. And all of a sudden we found out that Richard Branson was coming to town to chat up some big project that he was involved with. We thought, if we could get Richard Branson, that would be interesting.
I had worked with him many, many years ago on a project in Europe. So a few phone calls later, and we connected with the people that were running the show here in Toronto.
Luck is on our side. It turns out Richard Branson has a small window in his schedule to accommodate our shoot and give us an exclusive interview. Michael rounds up the crew and heads to his club Atelier, which will serve as the canvas for the shoot.
Everywhere he went, everything's scheduled to the minute moment, because he moves from one event to the next, to a media conference, to a press conference. We just had to be ready, so we were ready 2 hours before he was due to come. So yeah, there's always a risk that something happens. And of course, if something happened that he got stuck, maybe he doesn't turn up.
Tell our stories.